Before we jump into today's episode, I have some exciting news to share. The Empowered Educator Show has been recognized by Million Podcasts as one of the top 100 career change podcasts for 2026. And I'm honored to share that we're ranked number 19. That's 19 out of 100. Thank you so much for being part of this incredible community of educators and leaders. Your support, your downloads, reviews, and your shares have made this possible. If you would like to see the complete top 100 list, I've included a link in today's show notes.
The three systems of leadership: leading, learning, logistics. Go the extra mile, motivate, inspire. Go the extra mile, lead, empower. Principles take action. Let's go, fuel your passion. Go the extra mile. Let's go. Principles take action. Motivate, inspire. Go the extra mile. Lead, empower.
Welcome back to the Empowered Educator Show. I'm your host, Dr. Mel. Today I have with me a guest. I have Coach Kevin Voisin. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. Thank
All
you.
right. Yes, it's not spelled anywhere close to that. And I'm a teacher, so if I was teaching my students this, I would be like, okay, we cannot teach it phonetically because it doesn't fit phonetically.
No,
But
it doesn't fit in French or English. So it's Cajun French. It's not meant to make sense. We just know what it means. And if it makes you feel any better, if I'm looking at it and try to say it, I often will mispronounce it as well. So you're off the hook.
All right. Sounds good. Well, mine's kind of hard too. And I've been called a lot of things, including Mrs. Vampire one time. So it's all good. It's all good. Kevin is a mindset architect and a coach of coaches. He has worked with over 40,000 people, which is very impressive, toward authentic, holistic growth. He served as a city councilman. He's worked in the seafood trade industry, which seafood is one of my favorites. I could eat that every single day. So awesome. He's also an international coach. He's the creator of Live Legends and Spark Mind Mindset Tools. I'll get that out here in a minute. Kevin, you have done a lot. I am looking at your bio and it is very well rounded, my friend. You've got quite a little bit of background there. So
I don't know. Early in life, I decided I was just going to suck all of the marrow out of the bones that I could. And I started young and I just ran hard, and now I'm old and I'm still running hard, and I love it. I think I'll just run hard till I fall over one day, and that's going to be okay with me.
That's what we all do. Although I think you're here to tell my people not to do that today.
Well, I'll tell you, in the words of Theodore Roosevelt, right? Like, the greatest joy in life is hard work worth doing. So hard work is awesome and running hard is awesome, but boy, you better make sure it's worth doing. The worth doing is where I think most people miss. That's where I missed for 20 years. I can tell you that.
Right. Well, Kevin, we have a lot to talk about today. Welcome to the show. I'm super excited to have you. I would like for you to tell us a little bit about yourself and just a little bit about your background, especially with your coaching, because you can do it much better than I can.
Sure. No, I became a coach because I was coached. I played a lot of sports when I was young, a lot of sports, and even through college played sports, and always had a coach, but really for physical stuff, right? For team sports and things like that. And, individual sports as well. And as I got older, as I got to be about 32 years old, and I had checked all the boxes in my life. I mean, I ran at everything. I was your typical type A, great grades, winning at sports, and then of course I ran through life and checked all of the marriage and kids and all of this. And then there were no more boxes to check. And I realized I didn't really like my life. I mean, I checked all the boxes, and I guess I was just waiting for the success. And I was waiting for all of the good feelings that I thought I would have when I had all these things. And then I was sitting with all these things and realizing I never really stopped to think, is this me? And do I want this? And what would this really mean long term? And so in that kind of gap of my life, I found a coach. And this guy helped me to realize, oh, wow, at some point, when we were young, other people mold us, right? Like our parents, our teachers, our churches, our community, and that's good. As humans, we're kind of born too early, right? We're so dependent when we're born. There's, a giraffe, you got an hour. You're walking in an hour or you're dead.
Right.
Babies, you got 18 to, I think now they still consider 30-year-olds kids. Like, I don't know, it just keeps getting older. As I've aged, I feel like the kid age keeps getting
Well, I have
older.
one about that age, and some days he acts like a kid.
So, we have a prolonged adolescence. And so what happens, I think, is that the difference between a child and an adult is that child is, curious, forming, and other people are forming them. At a point as an adult, you become the sculptor and the sculpture. But no one says that, especially in Western culture. A lot of older cultures had a really big moment, right? Like I think about this tribe in Africa that had this kind of, it's where bungee jumping comes from, right? I didn't do any research on this, so, but they would jump off this huge tower with these vines tied to their legs, and that was like this moment of like, okay, hey, you're not a kid anymore because you did this. And until you'll do this, you're a kid. And then so other cultures had these moments of these rites of passage that said, you're not a kid anymore. Now you're creating your life. You're on your own. Like, you're going to take responsibility, right? Not necessarily you're on your own, meaning like you're not a part of the community, but now you're a responsible part of the
Right.
community, right? You hold water. You decide who you are. You have responsibilities. We don't do that real well in our society today. In fact, almost. I was laughing the other day. I think someone invited me to their like fourth grade graduation. And I was like, it used to be when I was young, there was graduation, and then there was kindergarten graduation and graduation. I was like, oh, okay, I guess K is different than one. So, but now
Hmm.
I feel like there's a graduation every year. And then what that does is it muddles it to the point that now none of those count anymore. Now, when you go to your real graduation, it's just what you do at the end of the year. And so,
Right.
so as adults, especially in modern Western society, we sometimes aren't aware that we are creating the very lives that we're living in.
Hmm.
And that's a choice that we make. And, you know, if you're choosing nothing, you're still creating that life because that just comes with being an adult. If you just sit on the couch the rest of your life, well, you just created a life and probably one you're not going to like very much, right?
Hmm.
Maybe, I mean, maybe that's your thing and maybe that brings you joy. Cool. I'm not going to, I'm
It'd
not going to
probably bring
fault.
you joy for a while, but after a while, you're going to look back and you're going to have some regret.
Yeah, well, maybe, right? I mean, maybe there's somebody out there that's like their best life is just sitting on the couch all day. For sure, that's not me, right? But what will happen is that we then look to see whose fault it is,
Hmm.
right? After 10 years of sitting on the couch and saying, man, I don't want to do that. We're like, well, who made me do this? And the truth is, when you were 8 years old, that was true,
Hmm.
right? It's like, well, I don't want to wear these shoes. Mom bought them, or grandma made me wear these, or the church has me wear these, or the school makes me wear this belt, and I hate this belt. And so I think when we're young, we kind of learn this pattern of I'm hungry, so I cry, and people bring me food. And then when you're 30, you'll try the same pattern. It's way less cute, and very few people will bring you food, especially if you look like me. But we still kind of keep this thing of like looking around for like whose fault is it? But
Hmm.
if you're an adult, your life is your responsibility, if not fault. Certainly, like things happen that are out of our control. Certainly life happens, right? Like we can be victims, like we can get knocked over by, I lived in South Louisiana, or I grew up there. And, Hurricane Katrina was nobody's fault. It's not like someone made it happen, but it happened and it knocked
Hmm.
the whole
Right.
community on its
Right.
ass. But the thing is, then you can get up, but then you have a choice after that. As long as you survived, then have a choice after that.
Hmm.
And a lot of us don't see that. A lot of us, Robert Frost has a poem out about a young man who dies like in his prime. He's sawing wood and accidentally hits his hand and dies. And I memorized this poem when I was young for a poetry reading contest that I had no interest in, but because of a class I was enrolled in, you had to be in the. I think that's why anyone ever enrolled in the poetry reading contest at that point. And so, well, hell, if I'm in it, I'm going to win it, right? I mean, I'm the typical type A.
Hmm.
I don't like this thing. I
Yeah.
don't want to do this thing, but I'm going to win because I'm in
Right.
it.
Right.
And I studied this poem really, really hard. And the whole poem is about this young man and his sister, and I hated the last little stanza, because he dies and it's this tragedy. And the last stanza said, and they went back to the they who are not dead went back to their lives, right?
Hmm.
And though, that no more to build on there. And they who are not dead went back to their lives. Like there's just, it's over. And so we go back. And as a young man, I thought, well, that's crazy. Like, that's terrible. Like, that's what a horrific way to end this story. This is like a triumphant, this guy mattered and we should build a statue. And it really just ends with everyone who's not dead going back to life. But then as I got older, at 40, 50 years old, I was like, oh my gosh, that's so brilliant. That's true. Like, if you're not dead, you're living. If you're
Hmm.
not dead, you're writing the story
Hmm.
of your life.
Hmm.
And if you're not writing it on purpose, let me tell you what, that means someone else is writing it.
Correct. Correct. When we did our discovery call, we talked about powerful imperfections. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Because man, I'm a perfectionist
Yep.
sometimes, and like I've gotten much better about that, but I it can be stifling for me sometimes because I will fret for hours over exactly what a document looks like. And nobody cares but me. Nobody cares what font it is. Nobody cares the color. Nobody but me. I mean, it needs to look nice, but this nitpicky stuff, that's just completely on me. And it causes me not to put things out there. It causes me to hold back information that could be very useful for someone else because of that. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Sure. I mean, so let me shift focus just a bit, and I promise I'm
Okay.
going to get right back to your
Sure.
question.
Sure.
I want to talk to you about imaginary places that we all see, that we all experience, but none of us have ever been. And they're very much imaginary. They're as imaginary as the Wizard of Oz, as Oz. They're as imaginary as, what was through the rabbit hole for Alice, Wonderland.
Mm-hmm.
They're as imaginary as the island Peter Pan lives on, right? One of those things is the horizon. And you're right now, a lot of people are, well, no, that's real, right? That's real. I look out over the water and I see where the sky hits the water. That's the horizon. Or I look out over the land where the sky hits the land. That's the horizon. Yeah, it's fake. It's not real. Like, you made it up. It's completely conjured, right? Like, there is no place. You will in your entire life never stand on the horizon. Now, you
Right.
might stand where someone else sees the horizon. So you may be in a picture on the horizon, quote unquote, from someone else's perspective, but you will never touch the horizon. Every step you take towards the horizon you see moves the horizon. It's imaginary. You imagine it. Why? Because it helps you orient your life. It's super useful. It's extremely useful, right? That horizon allows us to navigate. If you're an airplane pilot, so I was a sport pilot for a while, the horizon is so important that when you can't see it, like in clouds, there's a mechanical horizon in the plane, because otherwise you have almost no way of knowing whether you're upside down. I mean, it seems crazy. You think you would know, but it is absolutely necessary to know where the horizon is, even though it's completely imaginary. It's not a real place. You can't actually be there, right? But it's useful for navigation. Okay. Perfection is the same thing. Perfection doesn't exist. If for those of you who are listening, if you want to be perfect, I have a 3-letter, 1-word answer. Lie. Just lie.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone on Instagram is perfect. Everyone
Right.
on, social posts are perfect, right? Like,
Right.
all the perfect marriages that are amazing, you're the most amazing thing that ever happened. And then 27 hours later, hey, we regret to inform you guys we're divorcing due to irreconcilable differences. And you look back at the profile and it's like, wow, 7 months of the most amazing marriage with all the perfect pictures. But then apparently if you want to be perfect, lie.
Mm-hmm.
That's it, right? Why? Because it's like the horizon. It's not real. It's a point of reference. It's super useful. Okay. So this is the fun thing about perfection. You need it. Why? To orient. Because if you want to be a teacher, well, cool. Well, who's the perfect teacher? Why? Because that orients you to the kind of person you want to be. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
you like the absent-minded professor, and you want to be that person who like accidentally invents the coolest thing ever, and Disney makes a movie about you. Or maybe you really like someone more like Dumbledore, where you run a quote unquote university, but actually you probably just eat mushrooms and wave a wand all day. Who knows what Dumbledore does, right? Like, maybe you want to be like a really strict, awesome physicists. Those are all teachers, right? So whatever your
Mm-hmm.
perception of what perfect teacher is, awesome. There's the horizon, and you start walking towards it.
Right. And that's the magic word, perception, because perfectionism or what you perceive to be a perfect teacher is subjective, and it's your perspective and not someone else's, because what looks like a perfect teacher to you may not look like a perfect teacher to someone else.
Well, and even beyond that, it won't look the same to you in a month or 2 months. As you get nearer to it, you'll start to
Hmm.
understand the nuances, and you're
Right.
like, the longer you've been in a field, the more you realize there is to master. And so at
Hmm.
the end of a first year, the first year teacher's like, wow, I'm pretty good at this. And then at the end of the 20th year, a teacher's like, man, I'm never going to be any good at this at all. But it's because after 20 years, you have such a greater perception of what this thing really is and what is really involved. It's a big deal, right? And so
Hmm.
that's not bad. This is not bad. Saying that perfection is a lie, right, does not give us an excuse to be mediocre. It doesn't give us an excuse. Like excellence is achievable, right? But what we have to accept is that we are powerfully imperfect,
Hmm.
right?
And I
That
think that's freeing. And in all honesty, it is very freeing, especially for new building leaders. My audience, they're new principals, they're new assistant principals. They've, stepped into a new role, or they're within the first few years of their principalship or assistant principalship or whatever the building leader position is that they hold. And it's very freeing to know, guess what? You don't have to be perfect your first couple of years because it's your learning year. This was my learning year as a superintendent. And this coming year, I'm going to have mastered a lot of things that I did not master that first year. And I messed up a lot. And now I have a chance to work more toward that perfection. And I'm doing air quotes for those of you who can't see us, but I have a chance to work toward what I perceive to be perfectionism or a perfect job or better than what I did last year. And I feel like that is exactly where my principals are that are listening, the audience that we have today, because that takes a lot off of their psyche not to have to think you have to be perfect this year. You have to know every single thing. If somebody comes to you with a question, you better know the answer. You need to have your schedules all lined out. You need to have every system in place. And they just can't the first year.
it's even the 100th year. In fact, if someone survived to be a principal 100 years, they would know just how inept they are, right?
Mhm.
Like they would.
Right,
The
exactly.
only true wisdom is realizing how much you don't know. With everything that you learn, there's three more questions, and so for every
Hmm.
three things you learn, there's nine questions. And for every nine, 27, and for every, it just goes on and on and on. Because that boundary of knowledge expands questions as much as it expands certainty, right? And so
Hmm.
why does this matter? Because if you can lean into being powerfully imperfect, you can ship it. Here's a question for all of those of you who are parents. Who knew how to be a parent the first time?
Right,
And watch this. I
exactly.
have five kids. Who knew how to be the parent the fifth time? Not me,
Mm,
because everything I learned on the first one didn't matter for the fifth one. The second one
right,
was I mean, there were some basic, okay, I know how to open the
right,
pamper, you know what I mean? But even
right.
even the butt was different. So even putting the pamper on was a different experience because the kid
Hmm.
kicked different or had different parts or, it's every parent knows this. I mean, it's like who's ready to be a parent and who can afford to be a parent? No one. And yet we kind of
Hmm.
all muddle, like at least
Hmm.
8 billion times people have muddled through this, right? By being powerfully imperfect. Your parents certainly hurt you. Your parents certainly gave you tools and advantages, right? How much of each? Yeah, okay, we can debate that. But the truth is, whoever they were imperfect. And hopefully they were powerfully imperfect. Okay.
Hmm.
Again, this is not an excuse. This is not a call to mediocrity. It is realizing that perfection will always move. So if
Right.
the only way you can be happy is to be perfect, that means the only way you can be happy is to lie. And I would put out there that you can't be happy while lying because secretly, guess who knows the truth? You.
Hmm.
Even if we all believe it, especially if the whole world believes your lie, you know it's not true. And actually, 8 billion people telling you you're so pretty and you know that you're not secretly deep down. Oops. Like that doesn't create a great life.
Hmm.
But being powerfully
Yeah.
imperfect and saying, hey, man, I'm going to mess this up, but I'm going to move forward anyway. I'm going to do
Yeah.
this wrong 100 times. Because guess what? That's how we learned how to do everything, even walking. Like
Right.
even walking, we were terrible at it. You were incapable of walking the day you were born.
Mm-hmm.
right? And now you're probably pretty good at it, arguably, right? But
Mm-hmm.
models have a perfect walk, but so do soldiers, and so do baseball players when they hit the ball. Like, if you think about perfection, if I was to ask you, like, what is the perfect car? The
Mm-hmm.
first thing you're going to have to say after that is, for what?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Is it for drag racing? Because those are like really long, giant tires, sticky wheels, and giant engines, for carrying a team of soccer players around, right? So that's like 20 people. It's a pretty big van, maybe it's a big bus. Is it for going get groceries with 3 kids? Is it for off-roading? Is it once you know what it's for, then, oh, okay, here's my ideal for that
Right.
job, right? There is no one perfect car because there's no one use for a car. And that's true even less for a life. So what is the perfect you? Well, it depends on who you want to be. Who
Right.
are you? Who
Exactly.
are you? And then that'll give you an idea of what your horizon is, what the perfect thing you see is. But just like the horizon, you're going to take 10 steps towards that person and you're going to see what? Something else. When you reach a peak, any peak in life, this is physically on the ground. If you've ever climbed to the peak of anything, you know what you see from there? Other peaks.
Mm-hmm.
Even
Yeah.
Everest, you see other peaks, right?
Right.
You're on the highest one,
Exactly.
great, but you
Yep.
still see other peaks because there are many peaks in life, right? And so it's like, right, great, you made it to a peak, awesome. Well, then what's next?
Yeah, exactly. And education changes. I mean, if you are in it long enough, because the not the educator, but the principal that I was 10 years ago when I got my first principalship is completely different than the principal that I'm going to be now, because education has changed in 10 years. We've had COVID in there. So now we have all of these different perspectives of what education should look like. And now I'm the principal. I'm going to be superintendent and acting principal this year. I got a lot of things going on my plate here. So perfectionism is definitely not going to happen this year, even if that was a possibility. But now I am the superintendent and acting principal of a Christian school, which I've never been before, and it is completely different than public school. I mean, kids are still learning, it's still kids, those kind of
Mhm.
things. So there's some things that are the same, but there's so much that is different. So it's never going to look the same from the year you start, even from the first year you start till the fifth or 20th year or whatever it is, because it changes as you learn and you grow. You're changing, it's also changing. So you still have to learn and pivot and try to keep up with everything that is changing.
And the whole world has changed, right? Like, I'll never
Mm-hmm.
forget, thanks, Ms. DeLon, my first year teacher, who ground into me that I must know the times tables because it's not like I'm going to have a calculator in my pocket the rest of my life. No,
Right.
turns out, Ms. DeLon, not only do I have a scientific calculator, I have all the wisdom of all the people who ever lived on the earth at any moment in 10 seconds notice from this supercomputer
Mm-hmm.
that actually is
Mm-hmm.
like 1 billion times better than what got people to the moon in my pocket at all times with a wonderful
Exactly.
photograph machine to take pictures at the same time. Like not, I mean, I have the whole world in my pocket, not just a calculator, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's way different. They prepared me for a world where I needed to know 9 times 9, and that would really give me an advantage, right? Well, that's not the
Mm-hmm.
world we live in. Now, AI has dropped. What is AI? It's the tractor of the mind, right? That when the tractor came out, the solution to the tractor was not dig faster. Right now, I'm gonna bring this tall tale back. I hope, like John Henry. I don't know if you remember this when we were young. There's the tall tale of John Henry,
Mm-hmm.
and what happened is the steam engine came out, and they had the steam. The steam engine was pickaxing the a tunnel, and it could do it
Mm-hmm.
faster than human labor. And John Henry decided to prove that a passionate man with a soul, could be better than a machine, and he did. They raced it. They raced the steam engine against John Henry, and John Henry had this incredible passion for all humanity. He beat it. He got through the tunnel before the machine. And the last act of that story is he died. And that machine probably made 100 other tunnels
Mm-hmm.
because John Henry missed the point. I love that story because I do believe in the passion of the human spirit, that we have that hard work as a human matters. But what he didn't figure out is that now that we have the steam engine, we don't have to do some of that hard work. Like, we could let
Mm-hmm.
that thing do it, and John Henry could have built 10 houses instead of dug a tunnel that something else could have done, right? Um,
Right.
and as the tractor of the mind comes, guess what's going to change radically, whether they want to or not? Educational institutions.
Hmm.
They have to,
They already are.
not
Yeah.
from the outside, right? Not from the structure necessarily, but from the people who are in them,
Hmm.
right? If you're a farm, it's the same
Yeah.
dirt, but if you're growing potatoes or if you're growing corn, very different things are happening in that dirt. And right now, we are in a really interesting time. The tractor of the mind is here. You don't beat the tractor of the mind by digging faster. You learn to use the tractor. You learn to fix the tractor. You learn to see where the tractor is deficient. You learn to see how the tractor's tricking you, how it might not be doing such a good job. Like in Russia when they first got tractors. I'm sorry, it was China. When they first got tractors, they thought, well, we need to make the rows really deep. Now we can make the rows really deep. Well, that led to famine because it's a really bad idea. But they
Hmm.
had to find out they didn't use the tool right, right? So
Yep.
that's I just think it's a really perfection as a goal will make you miserable. A perfection as a goal will make you doubt yourself. It will make you anxious. It will make you feel
Hmm.
never enough because you never
Hmm.
will be enough, period.
Exactly.
Even on Everest, you'll see 1,000 other peaks you haven't climbed, and there's not enough life to climb all of those peaks. You can be
Right.
anything, but you cannot be everything. Okay, so now perfection as a navigation tool. Perfection is like, oh wow, that's the standard.
Hmm.
Okay, yeah, I would. That's what I want to get as close to that as I can.
Right.
Right? Oh, awesome. Then that's awesome. But that's embracing being powerfully imperfect, saying, hey, I'm not perfect. I'm going to mess this up. I'm going to take wrong turns. But you know what? I can enjoy the wrong turns. I'm going to fall over. But when I fall over, that's going to teach me one new way not to fall
Hmm.
until I can walk.
Hmm.
And then after I
Exactly.
walk, maybe I'll run, maybe not.
Yeah, exactly. And you have a great staff to help you, and you don't have to be perfect on your own or try to hit perfection on your own, because everybody has gifts and talents that they can bring to the table and take some of that off of you so you can, pardon me, so you can work even harder toward the things that you want to be perfect at. And I'm doing those air quotes again because you have that amazing team that can take that load off of you. Kevin, this has been a great conversation. Unfortunately, we are out of time. So, would you give my audience one last power statement about the things we talked about today? Something that they can take away and apply, not necessarily on paper or anything, but even a mindset that they can apply going forward.
Yeah, I'll give you a mantra, and this is a mantra my wife taught me actually. It's something that she says, and it means a lot to me, and I'll explain it. It's I made this mountain, I can move this mountain. Like whatever mountain is in front of you in your life, you
Mhm.
made it. You're responsible for it. You created it somehow, in some way, even if that was only by being born. And hey, we all have some mountain to climb because we were born in some certain way. And for me, I have to always remember that I am a force of nature. I'm a force of nature. I'm a force of nature to be reckoned with. Wherever I am, whoever I'm with, I am a force of nature. But my friend, whoever you are listening, you are a force of nature. Now,
Mhm.
I'm not the biggest force of nature. I'm not the only force of nature. I'm not the fastest force of nature, but I am a force of nature amongst many forces, which means no matter what's happening, no matter how I'm tossed, no matter how I'm turned, I also have a choice. I also have a voice. And I can use those things to navigate the many forces that are around me. And it's the same for you. You are a force of nature. You have a will. You have power. You have a voice. You have a choice. You can walk forward. If you want to pretend that life is a giant angry ocean and you're just bobbing and floating at the whims of the sea, then you're right. Then you're right. That's what
Mhm.
your life will be. But I choose to remember I can swim.
Right.
And maybe I can learn to surf and maybe I can find an island, just stand out of the water for a while. But I also am a force. I'm not the biggest. I'm not the most important thing that's ever existed, but I'm not nothing either, and neither are you. And I would say that would be the biggest thing that I would remember is when you're looking at that, I
Mm.
made this mountain, I can move this mountain. Let's go.
Excellent. Excellent. I think my audience can definitely take a lot of this information today and apply it to their mindset for sure, because it's tough out there. It's tough being a principal. It's tough being any kind of district or building leader. You have a lot of people who are depending on you. You have a lot, I mean, you are working to make sure that our students are ready to go when they leave your building or your district. And so it's a big pressure. And I think this was good information for them to take and be able to let go of some of that anxiety that they might be carrying. So thank you so much for this conversation today.
Thank you. Super happy to have had it. Thank you.
How can my audience connect with you if they would like to?
So on pretty much any social media, I'm at It's Coach Kevin. You can find me on YouTube, Instagram, but that's it. Yeah, I'm just about to come out with a new book called Living Legend. Excited about that. Really a kind of a methodology for getting yourself into power, beating anxiety, and fighting off the depression that comes when you forget that you're a force of nature, that you are a force of nature.
Wonderful. Congratulations on that. You'll have to let us know so I can add that link to the show notes when it's ready to go. So
Thank you.
excellent. Well, thank you again for being on the show today. And for the rest of you, thank you for joining us today. And I will see you back here next week. Bye-bye.
Principles take action.